Hi, my name is Stuart Sumida, and I'm here at Animation Mentor today to talk to you about the anatomy of fights. I'm a professor of anatomy at the California State University in San Bernardino, but I've also taught anatomy to artists and animators, specifically animators, for almost 20 years now. The first film I worked on was Beauty and the Beast, and the most recent film I've worked on was How to Train Your Dragon. What we're going to do is we are going to combine a little bit of good old-fashioned choreography and scene blocking for how you do martial arts and how you fight, how to do fighting properly, but how to do that proper fighting and those proper movements in terms of how an animator has to communicate those kinds of things. Okay, so the first set of techniques we're going to talk about in terms of connecting to your body core are kicks. So let's think about a few kicks here. So for instance, here we have, in our next clip, we're going to have a character who's going to do a kick, and the technique is actually very, very good. And what you'll notice is he's put his foot right through the door, okay? And he's got his body sort of straight up and down. What you're going to notice when we start moving to some reference footage is that we're going to see a little bit more tilt to the body as we do some of our kicks. If you don't put your hips into it, you don't feel the same power. If you just swing a leg and just push with a leg, it's like knocking on a door. So regardless of the type of kick you do, here I'm doing a roundhouse kick, you've got to get some hip motion, in this case some hip torque. We don't want to just swing our leg in a circle. What happens is that you turn your body and then the leg follows. And you have to put your hips into anything, whether it's a roundhouse kick like the one you're seeing here, whether you step back into a kick. You'll notice as I step back, I'm using the power of my hips to push into a back kick, okay? Or, as you see here, as Dana pushes a kick into me, she's actually using her whole body to get me off balance. Okay? She's smaller than me, but that kick can knock me back because she has used her entire body, including her leg. When you strike somebody, whether it's with your legs or with your arms, you must use that hip torsion. So, why do strikes work and how do they work and what are some of the common mistakes? Well, the most common mistake with a strike with your arm is the same kind of mistake that we see with the leg. If you just move your arm, okay, you don't get much power. You must connect the arm to the body. Okay? Notice how my hip has moved before my arm. I get a lot more snap into my arm if I step and use my hips first before I bring my arm into it. Whether it's a punch or a chop to the side of the neck, my hips move first, and 1 or 2 frames after that, then the arm follows. So that would be a chop or a punch to the face or a punch to the groin or something like that. But it's all coming not from the arm, but from the center, okay? From the center. So here I'm about to attack Dana, and what she does is she goes into my body. And notice she hasn't even extended her arm there yet. The origin of the power is not here. This is small. This is big. Now, we see some of the same ideas here. What we have here is a much smaller character getting ready to hit a much larger character. He didn't just hit the dragon with his arm. What he did is he turned his whole body. So he got the turn of his body and his shoulders to create much more power than he would get out of just his forearm and his hand. We know, however, that there's a lot more to fighting than just hitting somebody. Okay? You can wrestle with them, you can grapple with them, there are all sorts of things like this. And this is one of the places where, in fact, it gives us a lot of versatility with our characters. This is where smaller characters can find a way to use their body mechanics to take out larger characters if done correctly. I have to aim much lower to get under her center of mass. Now, she's smaller than me, and I would have to actually work very hard to flip her because I would have to bend my knees so deeply. So notice what happens. Notice that her hips are below my hips, below my center of mass. Okay? Because her hips are below my center of mass, I must fall over her. Here's a young kid. I'm going to go after him and try and get him. And okay, of course, he can hit me. He can kick me. Okay? But notice what happens after he kicks me. Notice how much shorter he is than me. I grab him. Look at where his hips are. His hips are way low. I flip over him like a teeter-totter. So good athletes, good martial artists, good fighters all do the same thing. They don't worry about the tip of what they're doing. That follows. They train the center of their bodies. They train their balance. They can stand on one leg or they can stand on two, but they can always translate the power from the center of their body to whatever it is they're using. And in the end, if you combine animation, martial arts, fighting, athleticism, boxing, all those kinds of things, oh, it's just a lot of fun. It's more complicated. It's a lot more than your typical first walk cycle that you ever animated, but it's an enormous amount of fun. And if you can properly show that you can show a person walking, jumping, tumbling, using weapons or not using weapons, then of course what's going to happen is that the repertoire that you have is much, much greater. You will be combining things and demonstrating to other people who are looking at your work that you have, one, an understanding of your character's balance and their abilities, and then what you can do with them. Okay? So you'll be having as much fun as me. Okay? I've got to tell you that as a person who does anatomy, I get to teach anatomy, as a person who gets to explain to people how that anatomy works, that alone is great fun for me. Getting to do it with animators, even more fun. Getting to do anatomy and animation and martial arts, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And I'm glad that you allowed me to have a little bit of time with you to explain how much I enjoy doing that here for Animation Mentor.